Welcome to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and last week on this channel I made a video all about the Mattel Creations crowdfunding campaign to essentially kickstart the WWE New Generation Arena set. And what that video was me imploring and basically pleading with the fans and wrestling toy collectors to support this Kickstarter immediately. And I got a wide variety of responses from making that video, some in support of what I was saying, others in the complete opposite direction of what I was saying, and some who just clearly didn't even watch the video. Well, I'm glad to say that this week we have an update on the crowdfunding campaign, and I also want to address some of the other concerns that folks have had. But first things first, let's get to that update, and it is a very, very good and important update for folks who are still questioning whether or not they want to back this campaign. And just to refresh your memory real quickly, this campaign is to essentially kickstart the WWE New Generation Arena, and that is set at a price point of $250. We've got about a month to reach a certain number of backers for this thing to get produced. And that is 5,000 backers to get what the bare minimum of this campaign contains, which is this really amazing looking wrestling ring, the Ultimate Edition Diesel figure, a really, really cool New Generation Arena entrance area, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. From there, we have two bonus tiers, where if we get 7,000 backers, we get an Ultimate Edition Doink figure, and if we hit 9,000 backers, we get two interchangeable ring skirts. This is the first time that Mattel has done anything like this for WWE figures, so it's a pretty big deal. This is a first, and I'm hoping it's successful, but as I said in my last video, and as I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail here in this one, I'm still not too optimistic about it, but let's see if we can maybe change that a little bit here. So since this crowdfunding campaign began, it's been the talk of all the wrestling figure groups, it's been the talk of all the stuff going on Twitter and on Instagram, and a lot of folks still are up in arms about certain things about this. In particular, one of those points that we talked about was that Mattel was in fact actually taking your money away from the get-go. As soon as you put your support in and as soon as you put your backing in for that $250, Mattel was charging you up front. Not even waiting for the campaign to finish, they were charging you up front, which is the complete opposite of what Hasbro does and the complete opposite of what Kickstarter and other sites like it do. And rightfully so, I do agree with that point, that charging up front was a terrible idea, and that was what was keeping a lot of people away from backing this thing. Well, Mattel listened, and earlier this week, Steve Oetzer actually addressed it and said that they are reversing their decision on that. You will no longer be charged up front for supporting this campaign, you will only be charged at the very end of it if it succeeds. And if it doesn't succeed, of course, the money will still be refunded to you. Now, what about me and other folks who have already backed this thing in the previous week when it first launched? Well, the good news is if you contact Mattel Creations customer support, they will get you the refund back on your credit card. It's going to still take a few days for this whole thing to process, but at the very least, you will get it back. So that is awesome news, because again, this should not have been a thing they did in the first place. They never should have charged up front for it. It always should have been at the end of the campaign, because that's how everybody else does it. If you never have used Kickstarter before, that's pretty much how the process works. You tell them you want to back it, you pick how much money you want to send to them, and then you wait till the end of the campaign. If it succeeds, your money goes to them. If it doesn't, nothing happens. It's all good. So this is a really, really great, awesome thing that Mattel is doing, and it's really what they should have done from the whole beginning. But hey, at least they know they made a mistake. They have fixed it. Hopefully it makes a difference, and to be honest, it actually did make a difference. We saw a little bit of a spike in the support for the campaign. But when I say a little spike, I mean it wasn't that big. I mean, at this point, folks, on the day I'm doing this, which is Sunday, we've now hit 21%. Now, when I did that video last week, I actually thought we were going to hit 25% already. We didn't even get there, and we're still not there probably yet. I'm assuming this is by the day I put this video out. Maybe we'll have hit 25, but I'm still not confident about that either. And the reason I'm not particularly confident about that is because I'm still seeing a lot of people in all these different wrestling groups I'm in still saying similar things or making up other reasons not to back this campaign. So I want to continue addressing some of those other points and see if we can maybe change some minds, because really this is not going to get made if we don't put our support in here. So one of the complaints I'm seeing right now, of course, is still the price, and I addressed that pretty in depth in that last video I did. But again, $250 is a lot of money, and if we're only hitting that 5,000 backer tier, it's not worth it. I definitely agree with that point. I think I said that in the video also. If we're only hitting that minimum backer point, it's not worth it. But that's the thing with most Kickstarter campaigns like this, is they kind of make these lofty goals, but they're not really that lofty, because that's the number of folks they're anticipating who actually will back this. So in most cases, the stuff that you're seeing that's bonuses is stuff that already was planned, and that they're assuming they're going to hit those numbers anyway to give you those things. It's very rare that those bonuses are actual, like, you know, legitimate bonuses, like, oh, we just are going to make it now. No, they're always part of the plan to do it. They assume that they would have had 9,000 backers out of the gate supporting this. And to be fair, hearing all the fans talk about this when it was first announced, like, yeah, everybody wanted to back it. Then they saw that price point. And again, a lot of folks who I know are collectors have never used Kickstarter before, ever. I've used it a bunch. I just used it, in fact, this past week for another toy campaign for Mythic Legions. And we'll come back to them in a little bit also. But that is how Kickstarters work. That's how they make their tiers. So I totally agree. Again, at $250 for the bare minimum of what we're getting, it's not worth it. If we include every single item that was announced, then yeah, that's pretty much the price point. And keep in mind, you have to factor in tax and also shipping, because this is not going to be cheap to ship. This is going to be a pretty big box of things to send if it does succeed. Now, one of the things that has really annoyed me, to be honest, and I don't mind saying that in this video because I know I got my ass chewed out in the last video with things I said I expected to happen again here, but one of the things that really annoyed me was folks complaining about the year-long wait for this thing if it succeeds. To me, I understand that, yeah, it's a long wait, but you know, wrestling figure collectors, that's kind of how the toy industry works. That's how this type of thing really works. Now, I'm not in the industry, but I do have some idea about how things get made, and Mattel's people have talked about it a lot as well, pretty openly in some of their previous videos that they've done for SDCC and Ringside Fest, whatever. And, you know, basically to get a figure out the door, it's usually an 18 to 24 month process to actually make it happen. Now, with wrestling figures, it's a little bit different because there's a lot of reusing parts, and that can speed up the process because all you really need to do is change a paint deco usually, or maybe a different accessory. But for the most part, they're able to actually work a little bit faster. And Jazzwares is also kind of a good reference to show this for wrestling toys too, because they're still pretty far behind as well. I mean, you know, they launched these toys not too long after the company launch as well. They basically debuted them about like 6 months after the show first began, being a regular show on TNT. And their first series, the AEW Unmatched series, is going to have Miro, and that's pretty quick turnaround actually. But that's because, again, most of those parts are stuff they probably already had. All they had to do was change deco and pop on a new head. And we also know from the past that Mattel, in fact, was working directly with WWE for a brief period of time to kind of know what was going on in advance as much as possible. And by that, I don't mean necessarily storylines, but I meant costumes and outfits. And they did try that out a few times to some minimal success. But, you know, basically it does mean they can speed up the process a little bit. So why is Mattel saying it's going to be a full calendar year before you get this toy in your hands? Well, keep in mind, you know, what I just said, 18 to 24 months is the norm. So a year means they've already done most of the heavy lifting. And that means making the molds, making the tooling. What they need to do next is actually mass produce these things, and that takes time. So a year is not that bad. And as I mentioned, I just backed another campaign this week. That was for the Four Horsemen's Mythic Legion series, and I've been a backer of them for many years. I've backed them in a few different campaigns. I love their figures, and their stuff takes forever to get to you. Their stuff usually at minimum is going to be a year. Usually it's closer to 18 months also, because they are basically a much smaller company. They're producing really high quality figures, and it takes that long to do the entire process. Does it suck having to wait that long? Absolutely it sucks, but that's how things get made. And I feel like a lot of wrestling figure collectors don't really understand that process and maybe feel a little bit entitled to the fact that they look at Ringside Collectibles and they see a pre-order and it's going to be, you know, maybe 3 to 4 months. That's because that's already done. It's already locked in. It's already been made, or it's being processed to be made. This is something that needs to get produced. So it's going to take longer to do that. I've complained a lot about Super 7, in fact, with them taking forever on their pre-orders, and it's very much the same kind of thing. You know, right now, I'm still waiting for New Japan Series 2 to come out, and now it's been pushed back. In fact, I just got an email from Ringside saying it's been pushed back to October now. So again, I'm waiting, like, it's definitely over a year. It's probably closer to 18 months at this point. That's for a number of reasons. But yeah, delays are pretty normal, this thing too, but that's how the process is. So on that point, I have to say, if you really like this ring, get over the wait. That's just how this works. There's not really much of a kinder way to say it. I mean, I'm sure there is definitely a kinder way I could say it to folks out there, but for real, being impatient is not going to help this. It's going to require some patience, and it's going to be worth the wait. Now, the other bit of confusion I'm also seeing folks still talk about is that they think it's going to be in stores afterwards. And no, this is not. This is exclusive only to this event here. Now, perhaps Ringside or other places might actually invest in buying a bunch more to resell, but, you know, this is the important thing about this crowdfunding campaign is that you can put your money in and you're guaranteed something if it succeeds. This is actually one of the very rare times a toy is completely scalper proof. Now, yes, folks will be buying multiples, I'm sure, of this thing to resell it, and that's a really great idea, by the way. But yeah, for the most part, this is actually scalper proof. So if you buy it today, you're guaranteed to get it for that price. You're not going to have to worry about trying to find it next year after it comes out if you really, really want it, and then have to spend like $500 to get this thing, because that's how much it will cost. It will double immediately. And I guarantee you, folks are going to probably be selling little bits and pieces of this as well. Folks will probably sell the Ultimate Edition figures alone for like $100. So really, don't be surprised that happens. So if you want this and you really, really want it, this is the time to get it, because otherwise you're going to have to spend a lot more than the already very large number to get it. How often can you say a toy is scalper proof? Really, never. The only time it is scalper proof is in a Kickstarter like this. Now, my last major point here is, again, going back to people supporting it and when they should support it. And I still believe that if you want this ring, you have to support it right now. Like I said, we're now about a week and a half into this thing. By the time this comes out, I think we're probably 2 weeks into it. So, you know, we still have some time. There might be more than that. But, you know, we're still kind of in the middle of this campaign now, and by now we haven't broken 25 yet. We haven't broken 25%. Hopefully we have. I'm going to compare this now to Hasbro, because Hasbro is doing a Kickstarter for Galactus right now for their Marvel Legends series. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind here, the New Generation Arena with all the figures and everything, that's $250. Hasbro Galactus, is $400. Now let's compare the campaigns here again. Looking at the WWE New Generation Arena, where we've not even hit 25% the day that I'm filming this, with a minimum backer number of 5,000. Meanwhile, Galactus over on Hasbro has already hit 10,000 backers, and they're spending $400 a piece to get this thing, and they only need 4,000 more backers to get it. So that's going to get made no matter what, because at this point, yeah, their numbers have been steadily going up, and on that last day or two, when people see that it's that close to getting it, they're going to throw their money in. There are still so many folks who are saying they're going to wait till the last day to throw their money in, and that doesn't work with a Kickstarter campaign. And this is very much a state of mind thing here. This is very much a mental game, because if you're someone who wants to back this campaign and you've waited till day 30, and then you go there and see that it's only 25% funded, that means you got 75% left to go. And I'm sure there are plenty of folks who do that right now and throw the money in and back it and say good to go. But the fact is, in that last day, if you only see it 25% funded, you're going to be like, this isn't getting made. I'm not going to waste my money. That's why it is so critical with crowdfunding campaigns to get that early momentum, because if you don't keep that momentum going, then last day you fizzle out. And that is really what has happened with this Mattel Creations campaign. And I'm seeing that cynicism from the fans in all the message boards, online, all sorts of places. Everybody's saying it's not going to get funded already. That's really bad. This is terrible. Like, this is not the kind of mindset we should have. We should have the mindset that we want this to get made. And for folks out there who do want it to get made, you have to show that you want it. And you have to show others that it's going to happen. Now, did Mattel perhaps make the mistake of making this a little too expensive for their first venture into this type of thing with wrestling figures? Perhaps. I think, definitely wrestling fans are used to something very different, because Marvel Legends collectors, they have no problem shelling out big money for stuff like Galactus, or Hasbro collectors in general, for folks who buy the Star Wars things too. I mean, folks had no issues buying that Jabba sail barge, and we got previously the Sentinel as well. Those things all got made. Those were much, much more expensive than the ring we're talking about right now. So I don't really know what the disconnect is between wrestling fans versus other types of toy collectors, but I'm just seeing so much cynicism and negativity towards this campaign for a number of reasons, when, some of these things have been addressed, and some of the complaints just seem like they're not really actually doing their research or understanding how the process works. That's why I'm making another video about this whole thing, because it bugs me so much, because I want this to get made. If this gets made, it means there are so many more potential things that can get made. Someone in the comments from my last video mentioned the SmackDown Fist entrance arena. I would love that, and there is no way that ever gets a mass retail distribution, because that's such a niche item. So to get really cool things like this arena, to get things like that SmackDown Fist that is, just an idea, but it's a great idea, and other things like it, we have to show support for this campaign. I understand if you don't like it, that's fine. If you don't like this arena, don't put your money there. That's totally fine. But if you are one of those folks that does like it, you have to show your support for it right now. Do not wait. And at this point now, with the fact that they're not charging up front, there's zero risk involved. Yes, on that last day, you will be charged. So goodbye, $250. But until that happens, you're risk-free. So you got a little bit of time to make some space, maybe sell some other stuff. That's what I'm doing. In fact, I'm selling some things to make space for this thing and to make up for the cost of this item. But you've got some time. They've made it a lot easier for you to do it. So now is the time to do it, and show other folks who are going to come in that very last minute that you want it to get made, because otherwise I don't see it even getting past 40% by that last day if no one starts throwing their money in right now. So that's my updated thoughts on what's going on with the WWE New Generation Arena. Let me know yours as well. Let me know if you've backed it, if you're still having second thoughts about it, and if you are, let me know in the comments what's going on and why you don't want to back it just yet, or why you don't want to back it at all. Or better yet, tell me what you want to see in future Mattel Creations campaigns, because I want this to succeed so we can have a lot more really cool things. So tell me what your wish list is. So until next time, I'm Matthew. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you guys next time here on Nerd News Today.